Hell yeah. Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grrr, woof, God damn it, woof, 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 woof. Hi, I said hi to all my YouTubers out there. If you like what you hear and if you like what you see, then click all of them subscribe buttons at the bottoms of all of your screens. And because I know you loves me, I know you do, give me some likes. Give me some likes. And because I like to always know what you are thinking, send me feedback because that's always greatly appreciated. Today's Wyatt is enlightening and enticing. Our special guest is Mr. Breon Arzell. And let me tell you, the brother is a true bona fide multihyphenate. Let's see, he's an actor, he's a director, he's a choreographer, he's a playwright, and he's a teaching artist. All I can say is, a good golly, Miss Molly, we need to get into this and find out what this guy is all about. So let's get it on. So without further ado, Wyatt, I said Wyatt, welcomes Mr. Breon Arzell. Don't you just love that name? He's that bold and bodacious multi-hyphenate. Good golly, Miss Molly, y'all. Let me tell you about this guy. Let me tell you about him. He is a tenacious talent. He's an actor, a director, a choreographer, a playwright, and a teaching artiste. So talk at me, my brother. How the hell are you?
I'm doing good. It's, all things considered, I'm doing good. As good as we can be in this moment.
Tell me about it. But on the bright side, did you like that, my mini intro?
Oh yeah. That you got most of the hyphenates.
Yeah, we're gonna get into all them hyphenates a little bit later. But listen, man, seriously, thank you for pulling up to the Wyatt mic. It is greatly appreciated.
Thank you for inviting me.
I really mean that. Okay, now what I'm gonna do first, my friend, I'm gonna whip out a complex quote from you, which I find profound and full of intention. And here we go. This is what you say it. As a visionary, this is what you say it. As a visionary and artist, I love to breathe new life into established works, especially those honoring and telling the stories and experiences of my ancestors and the African American community. Infusing various styles and genres into my work, I wish to inspire dialogue, highlight the commonalities of the human condition, and how the past is intertwined with and informs the present. Within my work, there's always movement, always story, always the heart song of humanity, end quote. First of all, I want you to expand on that, but let me say, my brother, you are one hell of a wordsmith. That is so nicely put together. It's complex, but it's tight. It's so tight. You know what I'm saying? I love words as an author and a journalist. I love me some words. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, because one of my things that I found, even as a teaching artist, I've been working as a teaching artist since I was in high school. Like even in high school, I was working as a teaching artist for younger students or for my peers. And so I found that one of my gifts was adapting work. Because I was also trained in classical theater as well. So, I've done the Shakespeare's and the Tennessee Williams and all of those folks and the ones they want to consider our classics, but they're never really our classics, right? It's like, what do I know about some Russian man that lived in the 1800s? I don't. But yet those tend to be what they consider our establishing texts for people within the industry. And so I've always been interested in how do we flip that? How do we put our stories of our community within those contexts, right? And so I've always been very interested in adapting work to make it more relatable, more applicable to like my experience and being able to see myself in work, because I didn't have that as much as a kid. And like, I want to make sure, they say leave things better than the way you found it, right? And I want to make sure that I leave things better than how I found them. And so, since I didn't see myself in a lot of work, someone that was Black, someone that was queer, someone that was all of these things, I want to make sure that I create work and establish work where people coming in after me and the younger generation can see themselves in work and add on to that legacy. So that's where I kind of like found it, kind of found me, and I realized that was like a calling. It turned into a calling for me, and something that I'm really, really, really passionate about.
That's really good, man, because I can just feel the emotion and the passion in your voice, and that is so very, very important. Um,
Yeah,
Kudos.
I was always the same. I mean, through school, it's like it's just always been fascinating to me that no one ever thought to consider that there were more than one ways to tell a story.
Mhm.
We tend to put things up on this pedestal to be like, oh, this is it, and that's the way it should be. But it's like, no, like, the way that we advance as a community, as a global community, is by seeing each other and seeing that, oh, you have this thing that you all do, well, we have this thing that we do that's kind of similar. Oh, that must have came from that. Oh, they must have saw that, and then that turned into that. And it's like that sort of commonality is what
Mhm.
happens to be like, yo, actually, we're not as different as we all think that we are. And just because it's not individually my story doesn't mean that I can't learn from it or take anything away from that. Because when I came up studying, again, you're asking me to learn something from a Russian novelist. It's like, what do I know about that? But then when we try to tell you our stories, you're like, oh, that's not really universal. And it's like, wait, what do you mean my story? Just because they came from West Africa and then this happened and they were established here, that's not your story. But I'm supposed to recognize that some Russian person in the 1800s is my story? That doesn't make sense. So we have to be able to even the playing field on both sides.
Mm. Well, let me just say this. Let me tell you something. You that when I do that, it makes me feel good as a stress reliever. But I say that to say that you are right on point. Right on point. Okay. Now, let's travel through the corridors of time so that we can find out your backstory because our Wyatt audience are so all up into people's business. They want to know what's going on. They're nosy as fuck, and they just like to know what the hell makes the guest tick.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Breon, where were you born and raised?
Born and raised in Detroit, Detroit proper. All right,
Mhm.
people say they're from Detroit and they're really from like Southfield or Sterling Heights. No, I'm from Detroit proper, the city of Detroit.
Well, you you told us
Anybody that's
that,
from Detroit,
okay.
they understand when I say that because, but
Whoa, you
I'm
just scared me.
born and raised in the city of Detroit. Yeah, and I lived there all the way until I went to college. And then I went to college in Ohio, and
Mm.
that was an experience because
Well,
I was in the
go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, no, I was just gonna say it was an experience.
Okay, before we get to the experience, you know what? I'm writing my new novel that drops in August. It's called Ruthless. And that's a shameful plug. But anyway, you know what? That sounds like a title of a book. That could be a
Yeah.
bestseller, The Experience. But let's put a pin in that because
Okay.
what I want to ask you is, particularly you, Breon Arzell,
Mhm.
what were you like as a little boy, a little nipper? Give us like three characteristics that best describe you.
What's funny is that it ain't much different than how I am now.
You know what?
Energetic,
Go ahead, go ahead, go on.
energetic, playful,
Mm.
and curious.
Why
Very curious.
curious? Why curious?
Because I've always wanted to know why things were the way they were, and like who made
Mhm.
those decisions, and why can't I change that? Even as a kid, I
Mhm.
always wondered that, like, well, why? Like, I was that kid.
And you know what? In all seriousness, I think that's one of the the hallmarks of being a creative. You have to be curious. You have to try to figure out how things come together, how they can be changed. So,
Yeah, and challenge the norm because it's like somebody made that decision, but why did they make that decision and why do we have to still hold to it? The world is totally different from when that decision was made. So why aren't we adapting ourselves to what it needs to do now to be able to fit us, you know?
that makes sense. Okay, okay, Mr. Arzell, you sat down last year. Well, your last name is Arzell, Breon Arzell. Anyway, you sat down last year for an insightful conversation with Phil Esteem's PrideIndex.com. And Phil, you're an excellent interviewer, Phil Esteem. And you said, and I quote, early on, I developed an affinity for movement. I grew up during the height of the MTV music video era, which was characterized by elaborate choreography. I was that kid who was always dancing in front of the TV, mimicking the choreography of Michael and Janet Jackson, Tina Landon, Paula Abdul, and more. End quote. Please expound, man.
Yeah, because I mean, now you look at MTV and it's all like jokes and reality shows, but like
That's
back when
right.
MTV started, it was actually music television.
Right.
And they would just play music videos on loop, and that was at a time where music videos were little movies and they were always heavily choreographed, and I was that kid that would just why the way I'm able to like absorb movement in that way, and I always had was able to like watch it and see and kind of see when I hear music, I see movement. Because I didn't grow up in a studio. I didn't take dance classes as a child. I didn't do any of those things. I just naturally had basically an organic way of coming into movement and choreography, and I found that it spoke to me when I saw things like that, and I saw like Alvin Ailey on PBS. They would always
Right.
do their concerts, and I would be like, oh my god, and it would just hit me and move me in such a way that I found that I kind of gravitated towards it, and that's kind of like how that's just kind of how it all started. Yeah, I was definitely that kid dancing in front of little round kid dancing in front of the TV, and like organizing dances at the school pageant or
Oh,
the Black
yeah.
History concert. Like I remember teaching my entire class the opening number to "Coming to America" for the Black History program.
That's so wild. That's great. I love that. All right. Okay. Let's fast forward now. You began training as an actor at 14 with the Mosaic Youth Theater of Detroit, and then you started working as a professional actor at 15, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
I mean, give us the 411 on that.
All right. Yeah. There is a professional youth theater company in Detroit called Mosaic. And all of us were in high school during the day. We would have rehearsals in the evening 3 times a week. And so we have rehearsals Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And we would always have like a final end of the year production at the end, like full production. Even the technicians were were young artists. The singers were young artists. They were all led by adults, obviously, but all of the performers and folks doing all the work were young artists from all across Detroit. And so, yeah, and
Yeah.
with them, they had a national touring company at the time that would tour around. That's how I even was introduced to the school I went to and was able to get a scholarship from performing there. And we went to like international theater festivals. I traveled globally with that group as well, and they were the ones that we did professional shows for the public. We had a collaboration with the Detroit Zoo where we were like entertainment and
Wow.
did shows with them, and we did shows at other universities and locations. Yeah, it was a legit professional theater company, all featuring young artists and people in high school from 14 to 18. And so it was really a foundation of who I am as a performer. Even still, a lot of the practices that I still use, even as I teach, are that I learned from that company. That is literally my start and my foundation.
Dang. Now, then you attended Miami University. You received a BA in theater.
Mhm.
So let me ask you, how did your university experience help shape you into the performer that you are today?
Absolutely. It showed me, I established a lot of what I wanted my voice to be as an artist at university because, again, coming from Detroit, a predominantly black, city and high school and all of those things. And so going to Miami University in Oxford, Ohio, in the cornfields of Southern Ohio was a totally different experience. And seeing as I was the
Yeah.
only black person in my grade, and there were only three of us in the entire theater department as students, and so
Mhm.
a lot of course, our stories weren't really present or prevalent. I was lucky to have a couple grad students that were black that put forward like black stories. But other than that, it was like even when it came to casting, I remember quick stories. I almost got in really big trouble one year because um, I got cast as a servant in one of the shows. Now it
Mm.
was a Shakespeare show.
Okay.
Shakespeare
Hmm.
shows in classical theater, there are roles that are just gravedigger, servant, butler. It's not anything to diminish that actor or person because usually a lot of times those are actually, full on roles. It's just that's the way it was written. But I was like,
Hmm.
I can't play a servant in this all white play at this all white school. Like I just can't.
I get
And
it.
and but they had a big problem with that because I was there on scholarship. When you get a role as a student, you get a role, you accept it, and you do
Oh.
it because that's what you're
Oh
expected to do.
man.
So I was like,
Mm.
but I just can't. So I mean, I got called into the dean's office. It was a whole thing because they were like, you need to,
Damn.
you got to sign this role. You're supposed to play this role. I was like, I know, but I just can't. I just can't. And so um, it really shaped me in how I wanted what I wanted my voice to be in the arts. And then I always go back
Mhm.
to that a quote from Denzel Washington that said where he said it wasn't the roles that I've done that have gotten me here. It's all the roles I didn't do that got me here. And so from then I made that choice that I wanted to make sure that I stood, 10 toes down and being proud of all the roles that I wanted to do. And that if they weren't progressive or moving the conversation forward or they weren't impactful in some way, then I didn't want to prescribe to that.
You know what? Wow. You know what? I had no idea when I asked you about your college experience that you would tell me that.
Yeah, yeah,
Whoa.
it was an experience. I mean, being black there in general, even as we had a small community, we had a strong community because it was
Mm.
very it was very oppressive in that moment, and it was, 2001,
Okay.
2002. And so again, rural parts of Ohio, it was just and I was it was an experience that we
Wow.
really felt there as a community. That we had to really rely on each other to, have
Hmm.
some joy and have some ways of just feeling human and like normal people and like normal students because there were forces within the university that didn't. It was very much a legacy school, a bunch of privileged folks, a bunch of I'm here because my parents gave money to the business department. Like it was very that. And so
Yeah.
yeah. So it took a lot of leaning on each other to be like to have our community solid.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Okay, Mr. Fly Guy, you jetted off to Europe. So spill the tea about how you furthered your career there.
Yeah, I was when I went back to that company that I started in when I was in high school. After college, I went back to teach there and I was the assistant director and director of the acting company. And so, it was my way of giving back to the program that gave me so much, but also to
Right.
like, have that little in between time before figuring out what next after college. And while there, Royal Shakespeare Company in England always did a residency at the University of Michigan every couple of years at that time. And our artistic director had a good relationship with them, and they will always do workshops with our company. And so when they came over, I kind of hit it off with one of their actors. And so he was like, "Oh, well, if you ever find yourself in England, let us know, and we'll see what we can do, whether it's classes or get into the program." So, naive 21-year-old me was like, I'm going to London. And so, so I went over there and it was a huge flop. By the time I got over there, the guy was
Oh.
no longer even working for the company. It was a whole thing. But I was like, well, I'm
Oh.
here. So while I was there, I auditioned for a company that did shows in Italy that was like theater and
Mhm.
education, where it was about teaching English through drama based activity and performance. And they only
Oh, okay.
auditioned in London. And so I just happened to find it like within my days of like looking for auditions and things. Found that, auditioned with that company. She was like, same day, she was like, I'm not supposed to do this, but yes, absolutely. You're coming to this thing. And so I'm going over there like, oh, I hope this is real and not a scam. But, and so, cause I went to Italy with like $50 in my pocket, and thank goodness it was real. And so that started me on this whole journey with that company. And then I went to Germany after that doing similar work.
Wow.
And so I was in Europe for about 6 years. And the only reason I came back
Wow.
is because
Yeah, what tell us.
the only reason I came back is because I couldn't do what I genuinely wanted to do there. I wanted
Okay.
to the work that I wanted to do, the level of work I wanted to do. There was a cap there, because it was English and I didn't speak,
Mhm.
and their theater was very, they had smaller theater circuits, but it was very, of course, very national, very internal. And so I couldn't really do or progress the way I wanted to there. So in service of my art, I came back to the States because, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be here and with my family, closer to my family, but also, the
Sure.
the big dream was always, Broadway. I want to be on Broadway. I want to go to Hollywood and all those things. That dream is somewhat shifted, but still making work here is where I wanted to be. So that's what brought me back. But that time over there was an absolute dream. It was just amazing because I got to see, this little queer boy from the projects of Detroit got to experience the world and realize that there was more of a world to see, um, outside of, because Detroit can be very insular and you can feel like stuck in Detroit, just the way it kind of like holds you. And so I was able to break out of that and it was like, whoa, there's a whole world out here. And so, yeah.
Mhm. Well, how did you end up in Chi-Town, Chicago?
Yeah, it was like, okay, do I want to go to New York? Do I want to go to LA? And I was like, oh, those are so far. And at that time, I had just had, my little sister was really young. I just had a niece was just born. And so I didn't want to be too far away from my family.
Oh,
And
right.
so, and both of those places are really far. Also, my mom was like, bruh, you literally just came back from Europe. I'm gonna need you not to be so far away again. And I was like, okay, fine. And I had a friend, again, going back to this company I was in, a friend that I was in the company with, that youth company in Detroit. We went to the same university. We both went to Miami of Ohio. She was in the theater department, but she lived here before I came home. And I was like, oh, let me pop down. She was like, yeah, I have a guest room if you want to just see, what the scene is like, what's going on. And Chicago has this unified, they used to have this like unified auditions where a lot of the theaters in the city would come for one weekend and you just audition for everybody in
Mm.
one general unified audition. And then from there, they would
Oh,
get
that's
your
good.
resume and then they would call you in for
Yeah.
specific things. But it was like one way to hit a lot of people. And it was like always a weekend.
Right.
And it was always a weekend in January. And so I came down for that. And then I was like, and I went back home and I was like, Ma, yeah, I think I'm going to move to Chicago. She was like, oh, okay, cool. What do you think in August? I was like, next month. And she was like,
Oh,
what? You
no.
just got home. And I was like, I can't, what do I do? Stay here and just spend money in a place where I'm not going to live, or just go ahead and make the move and start my establishing there so I can use my money and my savings wisely to a place where I'm actually going to, live and thrive. And so I was like, I'll give it 2 years. I'll
Mm.
give Chicago 2 years. But, 13 years later, here I am still here because I love it. I love the community. I love the art that this city makes. And so that's what brought me and kept me in Chicago.
Well, okay. Let's talk about two recent productions that you've been involved in, The Color Purple and The Fly Honey Show.
Yeah.
So, like, Give us a full Monty about all of that. What's up with it?
What's up with it? Well, Fly Honey, Fly Honey is such a special, beautiful queer unicorn of a show that I love so much. It was started by a group of women that are all
Okay.
femme positive, body positive, sex positive, all of those things of being like, how do we maintain and claim our autonomy in our bodies and our and for them in their womanhood and expressing themselves and creating a safe space for all of that, because all of them are
Right.
established dancers and choreographers and a lot of them burlesque and all of these other things, and so they wanted to create this
Mm.
safe space, this queer creative safe space, for everyone to be in. And so that happened, I want to say like 15 years ago is when they first started it. And it first started like
Oh,
in true Chicago fashion in the basement of somewhere. And then it just year by year got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I became a part of it within the last, I think my first show with them was 2018. And at that time they had expanded to having a they called the Hive, which was all the mask presenting performers, and the
no.
Honeys were all the femme presenting performers. And so I got
Okay.
invited to join the Hive from seeing my work, from seeing my choreography. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And so I did that one year, and then the next year I choreographed the Hive. And then I've always been a part of the Honeys since then. And we just did our last show this past year in 2025 was the final bow. For now,
Oh,
for this iteration of the Fly, I think she's gonna bring it back. But but Erin Kilmurray is the person we call Coach, who kind of like she was one of the women. It was her brainchild and her baby. Amazing woman, amazing artist, amazing leader, choreographer who put it all together. And so yeah, it felt like home to me. It was a great place to be authentically and uniquely me and us. And so I hold the Fly Honey experience so close to my heart. It's really, really special to me. And just a special place. Everyone who has visited a Fly Honey show has been like, whoa, I feel like transformed. I feel free. I feel liberated. I feel all of these things because that's just the type of space that they curated. Um, and so
mhm.
that was that's Fly Honey. And the color
Oh,
purple, so nice. We had to do it thrice. This last time we did it last year at Goodman was the third time. Me and my collaborator Lillian Brown, amazing Black female director in the city. She's born and raised Chicago.
mhm.
That we've kind of found each other. I was an understudy for her once, and then she invited me to choreograph for her. We had a production of The Wiz, and that was the first time we worked together in that
Oh,
collab. Probably one of the best productions of Wiz you would have ever seen. I should have been on Broadway, but we're not gonna go there. But yeah, this was our color purple. This we did it once. The first time we did it was at Drury Lane in 2019, and then we did it at the Muni in 2022, 23, and then the color purple at Goodman just last year. And it was, that story is so I am so close to that story because that is one of my favorite movies, even growing up. Like that was one of the things I love to see because I think it's one of the first times I truly saw, the black experience displayed, the real black experience displayed in a way on the big screen. And it was always been so moving to me. And then the little hint of a queer, first time you saw like any sort of queer love story represented on screen in that
oh,
way. And so like that, all those things, that movie was always so special to me. And then the book is just so beautiful. And so being able to work on the musical was just it was a dream come true. It's one of my dream shows. Now that being said, I think I'm good on doing it. Because although you find the joy in these things, that's what we always do as a people is find the joy in things. It's a hard show, and it's about strife and about relationships and about growth and finding yourself. But
mm,
there's a lot of hardships along the way, and I find that
mhm.
companies love doing that show because they love to see us suffer, but they don't love to see us celebrate and just be joyful. And so that's why it's become like, if you want to do a Black show, it's like, oh, let's do The Color Purple or Dreamgirls. And it's like, we have more shows, y'all. We have more shows than that. We have more layers to us than that. Um, so I love that show so much. And this last iteration, I think, was the best one we've done because we were able to take the things we loved and learned from the other two and put it all in this one with an amazing cast. And a lot of them were from previous productions too. So it was just a beautiful full circle way to close that cycle. It was, third time's a charm, rule of three, the magic rule of three. It was all of that was just right in that production. It was so good. I love that show so much. Yeah.
Okay. Well, well, you're the hot shit because you're the winner. You're the winner of the Joseph Jefferson Award or the Jeff Award. Now, let me tell everybody what this is before you comment. The Joseph Jefferson Award or the Jeff Award is prestigious. It's given for theater arts produced in the Chicago area. Founded in 1968, the awards are named in tribute to actor Joseph Jefferson, a 19th century American theater star who, as a child, was a player in Chicago's first theater company. So give us the 411 on your win and what it means to you.
Yeah, well, 6 wins.
Well, listen, slap my face and call me red. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I've won 6 times. And it's amazing because basically it's like the Tonys for Chicago. Every region pretty much has their kind of like
Oh, cool.
regional awards. Like it's the Helen Hayes in the DC area, it's the Jeffs in Chicago. The Tonys is supposed to be nationwide, but let's be honest, it's really just New York, which is a problem. I don't know why they don't just say that it's a New York award, but anyway. So yeah, it was something that, it's nice to be recognized always for your work because we put so much,
Sure.
it's a very vulnerable thing to put yourself out there and put your work out there to be viewed, to be absorbed, to be judged, all of those things. And so it's always very personal in putting a piece of your work out there. And so it's always nice to be not just recognized, but and awarded for that work, for the work that you do, because it takes a lot. It's not easy and everybody can't do it and everybody can't do it well. So it's nice to be recognized in that way. I've always said, I just want to do good work, and however
Right.
people receive it is how they were supposed to receive it. It's never like for the awards, or for that sort of consumption. It's more about how it makes you feel. How am I able to move you through my work? That's my goal. And so being awarded has been very nice. To also, because a lot of the things I've been awarded for have been very identifying pieces of work. They've either been very Black or very
Mm,
gay
okay.
or very something. It's never been like, and that's what I'm most proud of, being awarded for those works, because they were things that were a part of my identity and my story, and back to my personal mission of wanting to uplift my communities and all the identities that I hold. So yeah, I got nominated for Color Purple this past year, and I got nominated for Blues for Alabama Sky for performing in that. But I won for Total Bent, which is a show that's all Black cast, and it's a queer love story. American
Oh,
Psycho, I won for that. I won for um uh, all our wait Harry Ape, which was all Black cast, and it was all um body percussion and movement from the diaspora. So it's like all of these shows that were either new takes or ways of uplifting my community. So it's been really great to be recognized in that way, because not all nominees look like that or were from the same
that's
identity.
very true.
And so it was like, oh, okay, so y'all, there is someone there recognizing all stories and not just a typical type of story or one type of story.
Mm. And winning is always the icing on the cake.
Oh, baby, yes, it is. 'Cause, I love any excuse to turn a look, but then also to walk on a stage in front of everybody. Say less.
Mm, pose, baby.
Okay.
Okay. I get you. I get you. Okay. Now, it's my understanding that you plan to launch a theater company focused on producing works for underrepresented communities.
Yeah, yeah,
What's
that
that
is
about?
still a goal of mine, a future goal of mine. Because yeah, just to have a space that is for those communities and for those stories, because we still, especially since the height of the pandemic and and the shutdown and all those things, the way theater has come back is kind of
Right.
been a little. I feel like we've regressed in a lot of ways, because just the scope of the industry has just changed so much, because so many people are focused on, well, because of that, so many companies and producers were financially hit, right? And so now it's
Yeah,
become like,
it's
how do
true.
we stay afloat?
Right.
Okay, we have to produce
Mm-hmm.
these
Mm-hmm.
shows that are either known titles, or we can put a known artist in that title. And so we have to get a way to sell these seats to pull people, because people got really comfortable in their homes and they realize, oh, I can be fully entertained without leaving the house. And so it becomes a thing that theater companies have to consider is, okay, how do we pull people out of the comfortability of their homes and their seats to come and sit in the theater? So it needs to be so they think it needs to be a title that's recognized. It needs to be someone that's this. It needs to be this. It needs to be this. So when you do that, what happens is that you're pushing out, or you're decreasing the window for new work, for different work, for
Mm-hmm.
work that's more challenging and fearless and things that are different, because you think you're trying to monopolize on people's nostalgia. And so you're trying to have
Right.
them, you think that that's the thing that's going to pull them out, when in actuality, people just want a good show and they want to be entertained. So if it's an original show, but it's a good show, people will come to see it. The word will come out, the audiences will be filled. But for some reason, they think, oh, I need to do Mamma Mia, or I need to do Beauty and the Beast, or I need to do these things. It's like, yeah, you have one of those slots, sure, that is a guaranteed sell. But I
Mm-hmm.
feel like we've lost a lot of the bravery. We lost a lot of the fearlessness to try to do new things. And so I want to, in my way of aiding that, I want to create a space or have a theater to be able to have that again. There were some theaters that were like that kind of got lost in the shuffle. Some people have
Mm-hmm.
some have lost, in my opinion, lost their way, and some have allowed the money people to take over the conversation. Because yeah, we live in a capitalist society. Real money is a real thing, and people and donors are a real thing. But it's like, I feel like we kind of lost, in Chicago in general, theater in general, but also in Chicago, we've kind of lost. I think we lost the plot a bit, in wanting to
Mm-hmm.
create daring and explorative work to kind of um, release it to like the money people and people that aren't artists to make these decisions, because that's the way we're getting the money. And it's like, I think we can still challenge them. I think we can still challenge our audiences, but it's trying to rebuild from everything that we lost during the pandemic, when we didn't even know if our industry was even going to survive, and it still don't know if it's
Mm-hmm.
going to survive, because it's hard out here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Wow. Well said. Well, let me ask you, what do you have in store for the rest of 2026? What projects, what shows, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm currently working on the Jackie Wilson story at Black Ensemble Theater.
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
doing the world premiere of Out Here at Court Theater in this spring. And then
Hmm.
later on in the year, I'm doing A Clockwork Orange with Co Candy Productions. And then I'm doing How We Got On with Definition Theater in the fall as well. Those are all choreography things. Right now,
Uh-huh.
I'm actively in search of the next acting gig because that is my number one. That's my love. That's Bay. Is acting
Oh,
and performing.
oh,
So
oh, oh.
choreography is a thing that happened, and I love doing it, but I
Right.
prefer being on the stage, and so I'm just trying to. But I've become a lot more specific with those choices and intentional with my choices and where I lend my voice in performance. And so it's not about saying yes to things that are easy or just for the check or just for the gig. I'm not really interested in that anymore. Like I want it to mean something, and I want it to be connected to it in some way. So yeah, I'm just trying to find that next theater thing to perform in, but doing a lot of writing right now, actually. Is kind of this newest chapter. I have
Oh.
a musical and a play and a one-person show in the works right now. And so
Uh-huh.
I'm looking into residencies and development workshops and things like that. But again, all of those are one show is a prequel to Othello, where we meet Othello's family. He brings home Desdemona, and
Mm.
it becomes a family thing because he brought that white woman home. And then and then there's a show I'm writing called Court Boys that's about all of the lovers of monarchs throughout history, the male lovers of monarchs throughout history, because they were there. Queer is not something that just popped on the scene in the 2000s. Like
What?
we've always
What?
been there, and so
Are you sure about that? What?
and this is a musical. It's based on actual people, and actual throughout
Okay.
history. So there's that, and that's a musical, which is really fun. And then I have a one person show. It could also be a group show that talks about. It's called for queer Black boys in search of a rainbow, which talks about how the intersectionality of being Black and male and queer in today's society and how we navigate those different spaces in search of finding our own joy for ourselves, because the rainbow that was established for the queer community never really included us or had us in mind. And so it's like, how do we find our own space and joy within our intersectionality? So yeah, that's what I'm working
Mm.
on.
Well, I want to be just like you when I grow up. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But anywho, how do us grown folks connect with you, follow you? Give us all of your social media.
Oh yeah, I'm all about branding. It's very easy. If you search Breon Arzell, all of my things are Breon Arzell on social media.
Spell it, spell it,
Uh,
spell your
B,
name.
I always say neon with a bruh. All right, so Breon Arzell, and that's on Instagram. That's on Instagram. That's on X/Twitter. That's my website. They're all Breon Arzell. If you just type that in, breonarzell.com is my website. And I keep that updated, and that always has what I'm working on, what's coming up for me, as well as my artist shout out page for my homies. I always like to uplift, because I'm only friends with A-list people. So
Yeah.
all my friends, we gotta grow together. Their win is my win, and
Well,
my win is theirs. So we gotta uplift each other.
mm,
So I always like to shout out my homies in the work because they're doing amazing work. So yeah, that's where you find me, Breon Arzell on all social media platforms.
cool. Well, Mr. Breon Arzell, thanks so much for stopping by. Wyatt, it was greatly appreciated, and you do have an open invitation to come back.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and I will.
Okay. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you.
Yeah. So, y'all, there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page at wyattevans.com, the go-to destination for LGBTQ plus news, features, commentary, and entertainment. Wyattevans.com is visited by more than 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, hey, baby. And at wyattevans.com, you'll find my smoking hot, HAWT hot, Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And as you just saw on the top, The newest installment is called Shattered. I said Shattered. And y'all, Shattered is full of action, danger, intrigue, sexually charged situations, passion, and all of the wonderful elements that you're used to in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. So get your new copy of Shattered. Now you can follow me, your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, all across social media, and poof is right there for you to peruse, like TikTok and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. And if you have any comments or whatever, you can hit me up at wyattonair@gmail.com. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, 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 woof. I said woof.